Thank you for choosing to settle in and share this time with me. Find a comfortable space, allow your breath to deepen, and let the world outside gently fade. My name is Silas, and I find a quiet joy in journeying, not just to see new places, but to feel them, to listen to their unique rhythms, and to gather moments of stillness aboard my traveling home, the Wanderer. It's a slow way to travel, perhaps, but one that allows for reflection and appreciation of the subtle details that often pass unnoticed. My journeys aboard the train have carried me through such varied landscapes, from the sun-warmed stones and echoing history of Rome to the carefully tended serenity of Kyoto's gardens and the colorful, soulful streets of Buenos Aires. Each place leaves its gentle impression, a quiet memory held within the steady rhythm of the wheels. Now, that familiar motion carries me northward, across the vast forests and lakes of Finland, towards a city resting by the sea, Helsinki. The air already feels different, clearer, carrying the promise of open water. In the chapters ahead, we will step out together into this northern capital. We will feel the crisp, clean sea air on our skin as we wander along the harbor shores, listening to the distant cries of gulls and the soft lapping of the Baltic waters. We will discover pockets of profound silence nestled within the city's embrace, explore the textures of smooth granite and aged wood in its markets and on its fortress islands, and perhaps find simple warmth in a shared cup of coffee. It is these small discoveries, these quiet observations, that I hope to share with you. This is an invitation to slow down, to observe, and to find a measure of peace in the present moment, just as I seek to do. Let the gentle sounds of the journey soothe you as we arrive and explore the calm atmosphere of Helsinki together. If you find comfort and tranquility in sharing these experiences, perhaps consider liking this recording or subscribing to the channel to join me as the journey continues. For now, let us begin. Chapter 1, Towards the Northern Sea. The gentle rhythm of the Wanderer, my home on wheels, is a familiar comfort against the shifting backdrop outside my window. For hours, the landscape has been a tapestry of deep green and silver gray. Endless forests of pine and birch trees stand sentinel, their tall, straight trunks blurring into soft vertical lines as we glide smoothly onward. Occasionally, the dense woods part, revealing fleeting glimpses of dark, still lakes, their surfaces reflecting the vast, pale sky like polished obsidian mirrors, before the trees close in once more. The air flowing through the slight gap I've left open in the window carries a distinct coolness, a crispness that speaks of northern latitudes. Inside my carriage, the familiar scent of aged wood and worn leather provides a comforting anchor. I cradle a warm mug of tea between my hands, its gentle heat seeping into my palms. The steam rises in a faint spiral, momentarily misting the cool glass of the panoramic window. I watch the landscape flow past, not trying to grasp every detail, but allowing the impression of it to wash over me, the stoic endurance of the trees, the quiet mystery of the hidden lakes. There's a subtle change happening, a thinning of the woods, a sense that we are approaching something different. The quality of the light has shifted too. It's a clear, thin light, lacking the golden warmth I remember from southern journeys. Even as midday approaches, it feels softer, more diffused, lending a quiet, almost ethereal quality to the scenery. It filters through the branches, dappling the forest floor in intricate patterns of shadow and luminescence. I find myself wondering about the long summer days and the deep winter nights this far north, how the light must shape the rhythm of life here. This journey feels like a slow immersion, a gradual attunement to a different part of the world. My thoughts drift like the clouds in the wide sky. There's a quiet anticipation building within me, a curiosity about Helsinki, the city by the sea that awaits at the end of this line. I picture granite shores, the cry of gulls, the vast expanse of the Baltic. Moving northward always feels like a journey towards clarity, towards a certain kind of quiet strength, often found in landscapes shaped by colder climates. The steady hum of the train beneath me seems to echo this feeling, a constant, reassuring presence propelling me forward. I trace a pattern on the condensation blurring the lower edge of the window pane. The forest is becoming less dense now, interspersed with open fields and the occasional isolated farmhouse, painted in traditional colors of deep red or ochre, smoke curling lazily from a chimney. Signs of human settlement, appearing gently without disrupting the overarching sense of peace. It feels like a landscape that invites quiet contemplation, a place where nature retains its powerful presence. The subtle scent of pine needles sharpens on the breeze. I lean my head against the cool glass, feeling the faint vibration of the train's movement. It's a soothing sensation, one that has lulled me towards reflection on countless journeys. The destination is not merely a point on a map, but a new space to inhabit gently, to observe, to listen. Helsinki, the name itself, seems to hold the coolness of the sea breeze and the solidity of the land. As the afternoon wears on, the landscape opens further. Hints of the coast begin to appear, wider horizons, a change in the vegetation, perhaps even a salty tang carried on the wind that gusts through the window gap. The approach feels unhurried, respectful. The train doesn't rush toward the city. It seems to merge with the rhythm of the land, carrying me smoothly towards the Baltic shore. I take another slow sip of my now lukewarm tea, feeling a sense of quiet readiness. The journey itself has been a preparation, a gradual letting go of other places, other thoughts, allowing space for what's to come. Outside, the pale northern sky stretches wide above the approaching coastline. The steady clickety-clack of the wheels on the track is a familiar lullaby, marking the final miles towards the calm sea air of Helsinki. Chapter 2. Granite and Stillness. The train slows, its rhythmic pulse softening to a gentle glide as we ease into Helsinki Central Station. The transition from the open landscape to the heart of the city is smooth, almost seamless. Stepping down from the wanderer onto the platform, the first thing I notice is the air cool, clean, carrying a faint, almost imperceptible scent of nearby sea. The platform itself is orderly, swept clean, passengers moving with a quiet purposefulness that feels calm rather than hurried. There's an immediate sense of solidity underfoot. I pause for a moment, looking up at the station's impressive structure. It's built from immense blocks of finished granite, a pale pinkish-gray stone that seems to absorb the northern light. The style is distinct, Art Nouveau, but with a powerful, almost monumental feel. High above the main entrance, though I can only glimpse them from the platform, I know stand the famous statues, Emil Wikström's massive figures holding spherical lamps, stoic guardians welcoming travelers. Their image speaks of strength, history, and a unique artistic vision. Inside the main concourse, the feeling of solidity continues. High vaulted ceilings arch overhead, creating a sense of spaciousness. Yet the sounds are somehow muted. Footsteps echo softly on the polished floor, voices murmur rather than shout. Light streams in through large arched windows, illuminating the clean lines and the warm tones of the granite walls. There's less ornate decoration than in many old European stations. Instead, the beauty lies in the materials themselves and the graceful strength of the design. It feels functional, elegant, and deeply rooted in its place. I retrieve my worn leather satchel, its familiar weight settling comfortably on my shoulder. I observe the flow of people, efficient, polite, moving with an unstated sense of direction. There's no frantic rush, just a steady current. Information boards display train times with crisp, clear typography, another example of the thoughtful design apparent everywhere. It feels like a space designed not just for transit, but for a moment of calm transition between journey and city. Exiting the station, the grandeur of the granite facade is fully revealed. It dominates the Rotatientori Square, solid and reassuring against the pale sky. The air outside is bracing, carrying that hint of sea salt more clearly now. Trams glide past almost silently on tracks embedded in the cobblestones, their sleek forms a contrast to the station's historical weight. Everything feels clean, well-maintained, imbued with a sense of quiet pride. I find a waiting taxi easily. The driver greets me with a quiet nod and a simple phrase in Finnish, which I return with a polite smile and the name of the district where my temporary apartment awaits. The journey through the streets reinforces my initial impressions. Wide avenues, buildings with clean lines, some historic, some modern, but blending harmoniously. There are glimpses of green spaces, statues, and always that underlying sense of order and thoughtful urban planning. The light, though still cool, seems to reflect brightly off the pale building facades. We turn into a quieter side street in Katajanoka, a district known for its Art Nouveau architecture and proximity to the water. The buildings here are grander, more decorative than some I passed, with ornate details around windows and doorways, yet still retaining a certain Nordic restraint. Cobblestones pave the road, and the air feels even closer to the sea. The taxi pulls up smoothly beside a handsome stone building with large windows looking towards Harbour Channel. Stepping out onto the pavement, I take a slow breath. The sounds are softer here, the distant chime of a tram, the cry of a seagull overhead, the gentle murmur of the wind. There's a palpable sense of peace, even here in the city. The granite threshold of the apartment building feels cool and solid beneath my feet as I push open the heavy wooden door, ready to settle into this new, temporary haven and begin to truly breathe the calm sea air of Helsinki. Chapter 3, Harbour View, Haven. The apartment door closes behind me with a soft, satisfying click, muffling the already quiet sounds of the street below. I stand for a moment in the small entryway, allowing my eyes to adjust. The space immediately feels calm and uncluttered. Light pours in from large windows that dominate one wall, illuminating the smooth, pale wooden floors and simple, thoughtfully chosen furniture. It embodies the clean lines and functionality I associate with Nordic design, but with an underlying warmth that makes it feel instantly welcoming. I walk further into the main living area. The walls are painted a soft, neutral cream, reflecting the generous light. A comfortable-looking sofa upholstered in a natural linen fabric sits opposite the windows, alongside a simple armchair and a low wooden coffee table. A woven rug with a subtle geometric pattern adds texture and warmth underfoot. It's not opulent, but every piece feels carefully selected for comfort and aesthetic harmony. There's a distinct lack of clutter, creating a sense of peaceful spaciousness despite the modest size. My gaze is drawn irresistibly to the windows. They offer a view across a stretch of water, part of the Harbour Channel perhaps. I can see the water sparkling under the pale northern sun, ruffled by the breeze. A large white ferry glides silently past in the distance, heading out toward the islands scattered across the horizon. Closer, smaller boats are moored along the opposite quay. The view connects the apartment directly to Helsinki's maritime soul, bringing the calming presence of the water right into the room. Slowly, methodically, I begin to unpack the few essentials from my leather satchel. My worn notebook and pen find a place on the small, simple desk tucked into a corner near the window, the perfect spot for writing or simply observing the view. My camera rests beside them. I arrange a couple of well-loved paperbacks on a nearby shelf. This small ritual of placing familiar objects helps to ground me, transforming an unfamiliar space into a temporary home, a personal haven. I run my hand along the smooth, cool surface of the wooden windowsill. The craftsmanship feels solid, enduring. Looking closer, I notice the subtle details, the way the light catches the grain of the wood, the simple, elegant design of the window latches. There's an understated quality to everything, a focus on natural materials and practicality that feels deeply calming. Small touches, like a single potted green plant on a side table, bring a touch of nature indoors, echoing the forest I journeyed through. The sounds drifting in through the slightly open window are gentle. The distant cry of seagulls, the low thrum of a passing ferry engine, the soft sigh of the wind across the water. There are no harsh noises, no jarring intrusions, just the quiet background symphony of a harbor city at peace. I can smell it too, that clean, slightly salty scent of the sea, mixed with the faint, pleasant aroma of the wooden floorboards warmed by the light. It's invigorating and soothing all at once. I make myself a cup of tea in the small, efficient kitchen area, admiring the simple, functional design of the kettle and the cupboards. Carrying the warm mug back to the window, I sink into the armchair. The fabric is soft yet durable beneath my fingers. I sit there for a long while, simply watching the light change on the water, observing the slow dance of the ferries and the clouds drifting overhead. There's no need to rush, no agenda to fulfill. Just being present in this peaceful space feels like enough. A deep sense of ease settles over me. This apartment, with its clean lines, natural light, and harbor view, feels like the perfect base from which to explore Helsinki. It's a sanctuary, a place to return to after quiet wanderings, a space that reflects the city's own blend of calm efficiency and connection to the natural world. I take another slow sip of tea, feeling gratitude for this moment of stillness, ready to gently embrace the days ahead and breathe in more of Helsinki's calm sea air. Chapter 4. Whispers Along the Shore. The air in Kahvi Park is noticeably different, fresher, cooler, carrying the unmistakable tang of the Baltic Sea. I step off the quiet residential street and onto one of the wide, meandering paths that weave through the parkland. Tall trees, a mix of deciduous and evergreen, stand gracefully, their leaves rustling gently in the breeze. Sunlight filters through the canopy, dappling the path ahead in shifting patterns of light and shadow. It feels open and inviting, a green lung stretching towards the water's edge. I follow a path leading gently downhill towards the shoreline. The sound of the city fades behind me, replaced by more natural melodies, the chirping of small birds hidden in the branches, the distant cries of seagulls, and soon the soft, rhythmic sigh of waves meeting the land. The path opens up, revealing a panoramic view across the water. Small rocky islands dot the near distance, their surfaces sculpted by wind and time. The sea itself is a vast expanse of deep blue-gray, its surface textured by the persistent breeze. I walk slowly along the shoreline path, hands tucked into the pockets of my light jacket. The cool air feels wonderful on my face, clean and invigorating. Families stroll nearby, their conversations a soft murmur against the backdrop of the sea. People sit alone on benches, gazing out at the water with a quiet contemplation that resonates with my own mood. There's a shared appreciation here for the simple pleasure of being near the sea, a collective pause in the day. My eyes follow the graceful movement of sailboats in the distance, their white sails catching the sunlight as they tack against the wind. Closer, a large ferry steadily makes its way towards the open sea, leaving a temporary white wake that quickly dissolves back into the water's surface. There's a constant, gentle motion here, the sway of the trees, the dance of the waves, the passage of boats, yet the overall feeling is one of profound peace and stability. I veer off the main path, drawn towards a cluster of smooth gray granite rocks nestled near the water's edge. They look ancient, worn smooth by centuries of weather and waves. I find a comfortable spot on one of the larger sun-warmed stones, the solid granite radiating a gentle heat. From here, the view is unobstructed, just the rocks, the water, and the wide expanse of the sky. The scent of salt and damp earth mingles with the faint fragrance of pine needles from the nearby trees. Sitting here, I pull my small, worn notebook and pen from my satchel, not necessarily to write anything profound, but simply to hold them, the familiar weight, a comforting anchor. I watch a seagull wheeling overhead, its cry sharp and clear against the soft sounds of the waves. I observe the intricate patterns the wind draws on the water's surface, the way the light shifts and reflects, changing the sea's colors from moment to moment, from slate gray to silver to deep sapphire blue. Okay, time seems to slow down here. There's no need for conversation, no need for action beyond simply being present. I feel a connection to the natural elements, the solid rock beneath me, the cool air around me, the vastness of the water before me, the pale light above. It's a reminder of the larger world beyond the city streets, a grounding experience that clears the mind and soothes the spirit. It is moments like these, quiet and unassuming, that I travel for. After a while, feeling refreshed and centered, I carefully close my notebook and tuck it away. I stand up, stretching slightly, breathing in the clean sea air one last time before turning back towards the park's greener heart. The whispers along the shore, the gentle sounds of wind and water stay with me as I slowly retrace my steps, carrying the tranquility of Kahvi's seaside edge back into the quiet rhythm of my Helsinki exploration. Chapter 5. Silence in the City. I find the Kahvi Chapel nestled incongruously in Narration Square, one of Helsinki's busiest public spaces. Trams glide past, shoppers hurry by, and the general hum of urban life fills the air. Yet, rising amidst this activity is a structure unlike any other, a windowless, curved building made entirely of wood, resembling a large, smooth bowl, or perhaps a gently rounded vessel. Its organic shape, crafted from warm-toned spruce planks, stands in soft contrast to the angular lines of the surrounding modern buildings. It radiates a quiet invitation. Approaching the entrance, I feel a subtle shift in atmosphere even before stepping inside. The noise of the square seems to recede slightly, as if the chapel emanates a field of calm. There are no grand spires, no ornate carvings, just the simple, powerful presence of the curved wooden walls reaching towards the sky. It feels both modern and timeless, a deliberate creation of sanctuary within the everyday bustle. I pull open the simple glass door and step across the threshold. The transition is immediate and astonishing. The sounds of the city vanish completely, replaced by a profound and enveloping silence. It's not an empty silence, but a rich, textured quietude that feels instantly calming. My footsteps, soft as they are on the wooden floor, seem momentarily loud before being absorbed into the stillness. The air inside is cool and smells faintly, cleanly, of natural wood spruce, alder, ash, the materials used in its construction. The interior is as simple and striking as the exterior. The walls curve gently inwards and upwards, drawing the eye toward the ceiling, where soft, indirect light filters down from hidden skylights around the upper rim. There are no decorations, no altar in the traditional sense, just simple wooden benches arranged facing the smooth, curved alderwood walls. The focus is entirely on the space itself, on the quality of the light, and on the overwhelming sense of peace. I find an empty space on one of the smooth, pale ash benches and sit down, placing my satchel quietly beside me. Other people are dotted around the chapel, sitting silently, eyes closed or gazing softly ahead. There's a shared understanding here, an unspoken respect for the quietude. No one speaks, no phones ring, no one rustles papers. It is simply a space to be still, to breathe, to disconnect from the external noise and reconnect with an inner calm. I close my eyes for a few moments, letting the silence wash over me. It feels cleansing, like stepping under a waterfall of quiet. The absence of external stimuli allows my own thoughts to settle, my breathing to deepen naturally. I become aware of the subtle textures, the smooth wood of the bench beneath my hands, the gentle coolness of the air, the almost imperceptible hum of the building itself, perhaps the ventilation system working silently to maintain the atmosphere. Opening my eyes, I study the way the light plays on the curved wooden surfaces, highlighting the natural grain and warm tones. It's a soft, even light, without harsh shadows, contributing to the serene and womb-like feeling of the space. I reflect on the intention behind creating such a place, a non-denominational haven for quiet contemplation, freely open to anyone needing a moment of respite in the midst of their busy day. It speaks volumes about the value placed on inner peace within this culture. After sitting for what feels like both a short time and a long while, I feel a sense of renewal. The profound quiet has seeped into me, calming the gentle currents of thought and feeling. I rise slowly, careful not to disturb the stillness. As I walk towards the exit, I feel a sense of gratitude for this unique sanctuary. Stepping back out through the glass door is like gently resurfacing, the sounds of the square returning, but somehow less intrusive now, filtered through the lingering peace of the chapel. The silence stays with me, a quiet echo in the heart of the city. Chapter 6, Market Hall Murmurs. The old market hall, Vanha Kapahale, stands near the South Harbour, its handsome red and yellow brick facade facing the water. Stepping inside is like entering a different era, albeit one meticulously maintained. The air is cool and carries a wonderful blend of aromas, the sharp, clean scent of the sea from fresh fish stalls, the earthy fragrance of root vegetables, the sweet promise of pastries, and the rich, dark notes of roasting coffee beans. It's a complex but harmonious tapestry of smells, instantly engaging senses. Unlike the bustling, sometimes chaotic energy of markets in other parts of the world, there's a distinct sense of calm order here. Polished wooden stalls, many appearing original to the late 19th century building, are arranged neatly along wide aisles. Vendors, dressed tidily, engage with customers in quiet, polite tones. There's a gentle murmur of conversation, the soft rustle of paper bags, the occasional clink of scales, but no shouting or aggressive selling. It feels more like a refined pantry than a boisterous marketplace. My eyes wander over the displays. Mountains of glistening fish rest on beds of ice-silvery herring, pink salmon fillets, dark smoked varieties. Nearby, wheels of cheese sit alongside rustic loaves of dark rye bread, Ruis Lepa, a staple I recognize. There are jars of colorful pickled vegetables, cloudberry jams glowing like amber jewels, and carefully arranged selections of cured meats. Everything looks fresh, high quality, and presented with an understated pride. It's a feast for the eyes as much as a place to buy provisions. I stroll slowly along the central aisle, letting my gaze linger on the details, the intricate tile work on the floor, the high arched ceiling with its exposed iron beams, the soft glow from vintage-style lamps illuminating the stalls. Small cafe tables are tucked into corners, occupied by people enjoying a quiet coffee or a light lunch, adding to the relaxed, convivial atmosphere. It feels like a place locals genuinely use and cherish, not just a tourist attraction. My attention is caught by a stall dedicated entirely to baked goods. Rows of perfectly swirled cinnamon buns, korva pusti, dusted with pearl sugar, sit alongside other pastries and cakes. The aroma of cardamom and cinnamon is particularly inviting. Following a gentle impulse, I approach the counter. The vendor, a woman with kind eyes and flour dust in her apron, offers a quiet smile. I point to a particularly appealing korva pusti. It's spiral tight and golden brown. She wraps it carefully in a small paper napkin. The interaction is brief, efficient, yet warm. Finding a small, unoccupied standing table near a window overlooking the harbor, I unwrap my purchase. The pastry is still slightly warm, the scent intensifying as I lift it. I take a bite. The dough is soft, slightly chewy, perfectly spiced with cardamom and cinnamon, the pearl sugar adding a delightful crunch. It's simple, comforting, and utterly delicious. I eat slowly, savoring the flavors and textures, watching the gentle activity of the market hall around me. Sunlight streams through the tall windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. The murmur of Finnish voices provides a soft, unintelligible background hum. It's a moment of simple pleasure, a quiet connection to local life through the universal language of good food enjoyed in a peaceful setting. This market hall feels like a microcosm of Helsinki itself, orderly, connected to tradition, yet infused with a quiet, understated warmth. Finishing the last bite, I carefully fold the napkin and dispose of it in a nearby bin. The brief pause, the simple act of enjoying the pastry, has been a small anchor in the day. I feel a sense of quiet satisfaction. Leaving the market hall, stepping back out into the bright, cool air near the harbor, the murmur of the market fades, but the pleasant aroma and the feeling of quiet, civilized commerce linger pleasantly in my memory. Chapter 7. Island Stillness. The ferry pulls away from the Kapatori Market Square with a low thrum, gliding smoothly across the harbor waters towards Suomenlinna. I stand near the railing on the open deck, feeling the cool Baltic breeze whip gently around me, carrying the scent of salt and distance. Behind us, the Helsinki skyline unfolds the white dome of the cathedral, the red brick Uspensky Cathedral, the pale facades lining the harbor receding slowly, beautifully framed against the clear northern sky. The journey itself is brief, perhaps only 15 minutes, but it feels like a proper transition, a passage from the city to a different realm. As we approach the islands that make up the sea fortress, the scale of the place becomes apparent. Massive stone ramparts rise from the water's edge, their weathered gray surfaces telling tales of centuries past. Cannons, now silent sentinels, peer out from embrasures, reminders of the fortress's military history under Swedish and Russian rule. Yet, interwoven with these formidable structures are grassy meadows, clusters of trees, and charming wooden houses painted in traditional yellows and reds. It's a unique blend of history, nature, and quiet island life. Stepping ashore onto the main island, Iso Mustasaari, I bypass the initial cluster of museums and cafes near the jetty. While interesting, I seek quieter corners, the places where the wind and the sea hold sway. I follow a cobbled path that winds away from the main thoroughfare, leading towards the outer fortifications. The air feels even cleaner here, the silence broken only by the cries of seabirds and the sighing of the wind moving through the long grasses covering the ramparts. The path leads me up onto the earthwork walls. From this vantage point, the view is breathtaking. The vast expanse of the Baltic Sea stretches out before me, merging seamlessly with the horizon. Small rocky skerries punctuate the water near the shore, waves crashing gently against their bases, sending up plumes of white spray. The sheer openness of the vista, the feeling of standing at the edge of the land with nothing but sea and sky beyond, is profoundly calming and humbling. I find a sheltered spot nestled against a section of the old stone wall, out of the main force of the wind. The stone feels cool and solid against my back. I sit on the grassy bank, pulling my light jacket a little tighter. Down below, waves surge and retreat against the rocks with a steady rhythmic roar that seems to absorb all other sounds. I watch the seabirds' gulls and terns effortlessly riding the air currents, dipping and soaring above the waves. Time drifts. I don't check my watch. I simply sit, observing the play of light on the water, the shifting patterns of the clouds, the resilience of the hardy grasses clinging to the ramparts. I reflect on the layers of history embedded in this place, the soldiers who once stood watch here, the battles fought, the lives lived within these walls. Yet now it's a place of peace, a UNESCO World Heritage Site preserved for its natural beauty as much as its historical significance. The stillness feels ancient and enduring. Exploring further, I wander along quiet sandy paths that trace the edges of the islands, discovering hidden coves and secluded stretches of rocky shoreline. I notice the textures, the rough granite of the walls, the smooth, sea-worn pebbles on a small beach, the softness of the moss growing in the crevices of the stones. These small details ground me in the present moment, enhancing the sense of quiet discovery. The island invites slow exploration, rewarding patience with moments of unexpected beauty and tranquility. Eventually, feeling the invigorating effects of the sea air and the quiet contemplation, I begin the slow walk back towards the ferry dock. The low afternoon sun casts long shadows across the grassy fields and illuminates the colorful wooden houses. As the ferry carries me back towards the city, I look back at Suomenlinna, its formidable silhouette softening in the distance. The island's stillness, the feeling of wind and open water, remains with me, a refreshing counterpoint to the quiet order of Helsinki. Chapter 8. The Warmth of Kahvi. Wandering through the Punavuori district, known for its design shops and quiet residential atmosphere, I feel the need for a pause, a moment of warmth to counter the cool sea breeze that finds its way even into these sheltered streets. Punavuori exudes a calm creativity. Independent boutiques showcase minimalist Finnish design in their windows, and art galleries nestle beside appealing apartment buildings with clean lines and large windows. It feels like a neighborhood where people live and work with a quiet appreciation for aesthetics. My eye catches a small cafe tucked away on a corner, its name simple and understated, written in elegant lettering on the steamed-up window. Through the glass, I glimpse a cozy interior, soft lighting, wooden tables, comfortable-looking chairs. It seems inviting, a pocket of warmth and welcome. Pushing open the door, I'm greeted by the rich, comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee, and perhaps a hint of cardamom from pastries displayed under a glass cloche on the counter. The interior is just as appealing as it appeared from outside. The design is simple but thoughtful pale wood surfaces, chairs with clean lines upholstered in soft gray fabric, ceramic cups neatly stacked behind the counter. A few small pendant lamps cast a warm, gentle glow. It feels quintessentially Finnish in its blend of functionality, natural materials, and understated elegance. Soft, instrumental music plays at a barely audible volume, adding to the serene atmosphere. I approach the counter, where a young barista offers a friendly, quiet smile. I order a simple Kahvi coffee and notice a plate of tempting Pula cardamom-scented sweet buns. I add one to my order. The exchange is brief and pleasant. While the barista prepares my coffee, grinding the beans fresh, I choose a small table near the window, offering a view of the quiet street outside. Other patrons are scattered throughout the cafe, some reading, some talking softly, others simply gazing out the window or enjoying their own moment of peace. The barista brings my coffee to the table in a beautifully simple ceramic mug, accompanied by the fragrant pulla on a small matching plate. The coffee smells wonderful, strong, dark, and aromatic. I cradle the warm mug in my hands, letting the heat seep into my fingers. Outside, people walk by at an unhurried pace, some wrapped in scarves against the cool air. The window frames the scene like a moving picture, a quiet slice of Helsinki life. Taking a slow sip of the coffee, I appreciate its robust flavor, smooth and without bitterness. It's the kind of coffee that feels both invigorating and comforting. This ritual of the coffee break, the Kahvi, seems deeply ingrained in Finnish culture, not just a quick caffeine fix, but a deliberate pause, a moment to reset, to connect, or simply to be still. Observing the quiet enjoyment of the other patrons, I feel a sense of participating in this gentle everyday custom. The pulla is soft and slightly sweet, the cardamom lending it a distinctive warm fragrance that pairs perfectly with the coffee. I eat it slowly, savoring the simple flavors. The atmosphere in the cafe is conducive to quiet reflection. It's a space designed for comfort and contemplation, a respite from the elements and the demands of the day. I feel my shoulders relax, my thoughts settling into a comfortable rhythm, lulled by the soft music and the gentle clink of cups. Sitting here, enveloped in the warmth and the quiet hum of the cafe, I feel a deeper appreciation for Helsinki's understated charm. It's not a city that shouts for attention, but one that reveals its qualities slowly in the clean design, the connection to nature, the value placed on quiet moments like this one. Finishing my coffee, I linger for a few more minutes, simply soaking in the peaceful atmosphere before stepping back out into the cool afternoon air, carrying the warmth of the Kahvi with me. Chapter 9. Sea air, farewell. Back in the harbor view haven of my apartment, the time has come to gather my few belongings. The late afternoon light streams through the large windows, casting long, soft shadows across the pale wooden floor. The view of the water outside is serene, the ferries gliding past with their usual silent grace. There's a quiet melancholy that often accompanies departures, but here in Helsinki, it feels less like sadness and more like a gentle sense of completion, a quiet acknowledgement that this particular interlude is drawing to a close. I begin packing my worn leather satchel methodically, folding the few items of clothing I brought, tucking away my notebook and pen. My camera holds images of granite shores, silent chapels, and sun-dappled market halls. I pick up a small, smooth gray stone I found on the beach at Suomenlinna, its surface cool and pleasing to the touch. I hesitate for a moment, then slip it into a side pocket of the bag, a tiny, tangible piece of the Baltic coastline to carry with me. The process is unhurried. I move around the quiet apartment, touching the smooth surfaces one last time, the wooden desk where I sat and watched the harbor, the cool ceramic of the mug I use for tea. The space feels imbued with the tranquility I've experienced over the past few days. It has been more than just temporary accommodation. It has been a sanctuary, perfectly reflecting the city's calm spirit. The simplicity and light of the Nordic design have contributed greatly to the sense of peace. Standing by the window, I take a final long look at the view. The water sparkles under the lowering sun, and the air moving through this slightly open window carries that unmistakable scent of the sea, clean, crisp, and invigorating. I try to commit the feeling to memory, the coolness on my skin, the specific quality of the northern light, the vastness of the sky meeting the water. Helsinki's connection to the sea feels fundamental, shaping its character, its air, its very soul. I reflect on the experiences gathered here, the profound silence within the Kahvi chapel, the gentle murmurs of the old market hall, the bracing wind on Suomenlinna's ramparts, the simple warmth of a shared Kahvi. These moments weren't grand or dramatic, but quiet encounters, subtle shifts in perception, small discoveries of beauty and peace. It's the clarity and understated nature of Helsinki that resonates most deeply the sense of order, combined with a deep respect for nature and quietude. With my satchel packed and resting near the door, I take one last walk through the apartment. Everything's tidy, returned to how I found it, yet holding the faint echo of my presence. I pause on the threshold, taking a final deep breath of the apartment's calm air, mixed with the ever-present hint of the sea from outside. There's a feeling of gratitude for the time spent here, for the quietude discovered, for the gentle welcome the city offered. Closing the apartment door softly behind me, the click echoes slightly in the quiet hallway. I head toward the building's entrance. The granite steps cool beneath my feet once more. Outside, the late afternoon air is crisp. I look towards the harbor one last time before turning towards the station. The city feels calm, settled, preparing for the evening. The journey back to the central station is quiet, mirroring my arrival. The solid granite building stands waiting, a steadfast anchor in the city. There's no rush, no sense of urgency, just a smooth transition, carrying the lingering feeling of Helsinki's clean lines, its connection to the sea, and its profound calming stillness within me as I prepare to board the Wanderer once more. Chapter 10. Leaving the Harbor Lights. Aboard the familiar comfort of the Wanderer, the train begins to move, pulling away from Helsinki Central Station with a smooth, almost imperceptible surge of power. The solid granite facade of the station slides past my window, its monumental presence receding into the cityscape. Through the large panoramic window of my carriage, I watch as the lights of Helsinki begin to dwindle, twinkling like scattered jewels against the darkening northern sky. The train gathers speed, the rhythmic clickety-clack of the wheels on the track resuming its steady, familiar cadence. It's a sound that signifies both departure and continuation, the end of one chapter and the gentle turning toward the next, still unwritten page of the journey. The harbor lights, strung along the docks and reflected in the dark water, become smaller and smaller, eventually blending into the general glow of the city skyline in the distance. I settle back into my favorite armchair, the worn leather cool beneath my touch. The subtle scent of wood and old books within the carriage mingles faintly with the lingering crispness of the sea air I seem to have carried aboard with me. The interior lights of the Wanderer cast a warm, soft glow, creating a cozy sanctuary against the deepening twilight outside. It feels good to be back in this moving home, this constant companion on my travels. I reach into my satchel and retrieve my notebook. Opening it, I find the last page filled with notes and sketches from Helsinki. I pause, pen hovering above a fresh page. What single word or phrase could capture the essence of my time there? Perhaps clarity, or stillness, or maybe simply the air. I decide against writing anything just yet, preferring to let the impression settle naturally without forcing a summary. Sometimes the feeling itself is enough. Looking out the window again, the city lights are now just a faint glimmer on the horizon. The landscape outside is dissolving into darkness, punctuated occasionally by the lights of isolated houses or small towns flashing past. The reflection of my own carriage, warm and inviting, is superimposed on the dark view outside, a reminder of this self-contained world moving through the night. The gentle rocking motion of the train is incredibly soothing, a familiar lullaby. I think about the calmness I felt in Helsinki, in the quiet efficiency of its people, the clean lines of its design, the vast presence of the sea, and the deliberate sanctuaries of silence, like the Kahvi chapel. It's a specific kind of peace, understated and deeply rooted. It's not a forced tranquility, but one that seems to arise naturally from the environment and the culture. I feel grateful for having experienced it, for having breathed it in. The rhythmic sound of the train continues its steady beat, a comforting pulse in the quiet carriage. I feel the gentle weight of fatigue settling in, the pleasant tiredness that follows days of quiet exploration and sensory immersion. I close my notebook and place it on the small table beside me. Leaning my head back against the soft cushions, I close my eyes, listening to the sounds of the journey. The memory of Helsinki doesn't fade, but rather integrates itself into the fabric of my travels, joining the impressions left by Kyoto, Rome, Buenos Aires, and other destinations. Each place adds a unique thread, enriching the tapestry. As the wanderer carries me onward through the northern night, the calm sea air of Helsinki lingers, not just as a memory, but as a feeling, a quiet clarity, a sense of peace that I will carry forward into whatever lies ahead on this slow, unfolding journey.